welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about being frustrated with your creative process. What's been happening to me lately is that every time I go to paint, I want my painting to turn out a certain way, and it hasn't been. I just keep getting stuck in my creative process. This is surprising to me because it took me a very long time to get comfortable with my painting process, where it's become something I can rely upon pretty steadily every time I show up to paint. I pretty much know what those 3 phases are in order to finish a painting. But lately, when I go to paint, I start with that first phase where I'm just like laying down paint and it's fun and I'm having a good time, and then I kind of get to the second phase and I'm sort of deepening those layers, and then it's just not going where I want it to go. Like, I can still finish a painting, that's not really the issue. I could just kind of keep going from there and then like refine it and then be done with it. But what I'm trying to do is get to a new level with my painting. And so I'm trying to like search for a breakthrough, and that isn't happening. And so I just keep getting frustrated. And so I've gone through this process quite a few times now, especially as I've been getting back into painting a little more often than I have been in the last couple of years. And in that time, I soaked in a lot of inspiration because I knew this time would come when I could paint again on a more regular basis. And so I really have no shortage of inspiration. When it came time to like show up and start painting again and wanting it to look more representative of my inspiration, like there's been a disconnect between those two places. What I feel like is happening is that basically I'm trying to get to a new level. I'm trying to get new discoveries happening, and I just keep doing the same thing and ending up frustrated with the end result. So the last time that happened for me, again, I'm enjoying the painting process early on, but when I'm wanting it to go in a new direction, that's where I'm getting frustrated. And so after the last time painting, I actually took some time to reflect on why this was. And I definitely don't have the breakthrough yet or all of the answers, but as I reflect on it, I'm realizing that it has to be like a handful of reasons. Number one, I'm just getting back into more of a creative flow, and so that's going to take time to do. Number two, I've been sort of trying out new colors, and then when I try out those new colors, I end up going back to what I know, which is more warm colors, and that's like my safe zone. And so, you know, maybe I just need more experimenting with those colors. Also, I'm looking for a little bit of a new technique, something I will discover through my process of pushing my boundaries a little bit and then having that like happy discovery happen. But as I'm relying on my same process again and again, those discoveries aren't happening. It also might be that I want to try out new subject matter. I do mainly abstract painting, and so lately I'm just kind of like, as I'm painting, it's like I want something more to be there. I want something more interesting to look at. And so it might be that I need to try out different kinds of subjects. Another thing is that I might still stick with abstract as my style, but I might end up reaching a new level with my compositions for abstract. So I'm looking for something more sort of in the end result and in the process, yet I'm showing up and kind of doing the same moves that I used to do. And so I think what I need to do is actually go back to more of an experimental phase, which is what I did when I was a beginner. And it took me a little while to realize that because I wasn't sure what the problem was exactly. And so basically it occurred to me that when I was first sort of learning to paint and trying out a bunch of different styles, trying out different materials, I really allowed myself that time to get comfortable learning everything, to try things and have them not work, to have to like paint over something, because I was in that learning phase, I gave myself a lot more grace. And at this phase where I do put up my work for sale and stuff like that, I feel more of a pressure to complete work and take a picture of it and put it on my website, or I'm a little more consumed during the creative process with how is it going to look at the end? Is it going to become a part of a series? What is the meaning behind it? And before, it was just kind of I'm showing up, I'm trying things out, and I gave myself a couple of years to do that without worrying about, necessarily how it was going to look, or I allowed myself to change styles. I did mixed media, I did flowers, I did subjects like people, I did a lot of different things. And now it's I kind of stick with what I know. I stick with the colors, the materials that I like to work with best. Not that that's a bad thing, but I just am feeling in my return to art making that perhaps it's time for a new discovery phase, and to take the pressure off a little bit to produce work immediately that I can put on my website or put a part of a new collection or something like that, and allow myself that time to try out something that may or may not work, because it's all valuable in the end to allow myself that experimental time. And who knows, I could have a breakthrough that first day. It might just be in the energy and the way that I'm showing up, where it's just kind of this is how I always do it, and so this is how I'm going to do it, and let's just get the painting done, to actually really allow myself to surrender and let go a little more in the process, take some risks, have a little more fun, do something a little bit different, because in the end, I always say, it's just paint. It's not that serious. So I'm looking forward to see what kind of breakthroughs might come from this, and I will definitely share that. I had a lot of really great inspiration last summer, but not as much time to paint. And I was really into the Coastal Grandmother aesthetic, the 1989 Taylor Swift album cover, the creams, the soft blues, and I really wanted to create some coastal scenes, abstract coastal scenes. And when I went to actually paint one, it looked nothing like what my mind wanted it to. And so that's kind of what happened when I was a beginner. I would have all these ideas of ooh, I want to try this thing out, and then it would be a huge disconnect between what I thought it could be and what it actually ended up being. And that's why the creative process is so valuable, because it will continually challenge us and teach us things. And so, it could have been a couple more paintings in that direction, and maybe I would have found that. So sometimes there is the need to focus and really say, no, this is the kind of subject matter I want to do, and I'm going to continue to practice until I achieve the result. Or it's a matter of, you know what, actually I tried out these colors, I tried out the technique, it's not exactly what I'm looking for, I'm going to keep going. And so right now I feel it's not so much of a judgmental phase, it's a phase to sort of let go a little bit and try some things and see what happens. So just know that if you are experiencing some creative blocks or some frustration in your creative process, that you're not alone, that's just a normal part of the ebbs and flows of creativity. I just wanted to share a few little works in progresses. This is the one that I was working on the other day when I was getting frustrated and basically came to the realizations that I just mentioned. These were a couple little fun paintings on wood that are the colors that I typically use and are the materials I use, including charcoal, which I absolutely love to use with acrylics and inks. And so I actually finished these ones pretty quickly, and I really had a fun time doing it. And so sometimes it's about just using sort of smaller canvases or surfaces and kind of working quickly. Here's a couple that I used sort of cooler tones with, and I just have them sitting here because I'm kind of unsure about them. They kind of feel done in a way, but I'm not sure yet because they're not in my normal palette. Here's one that I did finish recently. I wasn't even sure that it was done, but as it's been sitting here, I feel like it probably is done. It's very balanced. The paint quality is good. And again, it is in that warm color family that I'm very comfortable with. Okay, so I had to show you the coastal painting in question that it just looks too literal for me. I really enjoy some of like the texture and the colors in the sky, but like it just looks way too literal of a beach scene for me and kind of like elementary. I don't know. I'm not loving it. It didn't feel like what I wanted it to feel like. In that like coastal grandmother 1989 album cover sort of vibe. So yeah, sometimes you can try something and it just doesn't work out the way you wanted, and maybe I'll revisit that subject matter, but I also have some new inspiration coming through. So yeah, I just wanted to show you those sort of works in progresses and semi-finished works. Another thing that I wanted to mention and that I've questioned a little bit is like, well, is painting still my thing? Is that still what I want to pursue creatively? Because there was a time where I was literally obsessed with painting. I couldn't wait. And that was like in that exciting experimental learning phase where it's like I just wanted to be painting all of the time. And because I couldn't be, I would just think about it all the time and it would consume me. And it was just this like beautiful dance that I experienced and like went through during that time phase. And now it's like when I paint, it's like, okay, I really enjoy it. I want to keep creating. It's definitely a part of like the pie of my life, but it's not like a huge chunk as it used to be. And so that's another thing that I am considering. Like, is it still a part of my life? It's just maybe a smaller part of my life as I allow other kinds of pursuits and hobbies and like I'm really enjoying making video and stuff like that, and getting back into reading and swimming and exercising and doing other kinds of things that are really good for my well-being, where painting used to be like my main sort of self-care creative practice. And over time I've developed more of them and become more balanced in doing so. And so I don't necessarily want to lose that balance. I want to keep painting in its rightful spot where, you know, obviously like my home and motherhood and self-care, my relationships and like other hobbies that lift me up and bring joy. I want to keep those all those things at the forefront. And so it might turn out that painting is a smaller piece of the puzzle, but it's still, you know, a part of my creative process and my self-care practice. So that's another possibility as I get into other kinds of pursuits. I would like to start making, you know, some more lifestyle videos and little day in the life and little inspirational, fun videos about my hobbies, whether that be cooking or baking or books. Because I do really enjoy those things, and in the end it really is about following what lights you up. So I just wanted to add that also might be a possibility here, but I am going to obviously continue to paint and continue to pursue and go through that experimental phase and see where things end up. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.